Welcome to this rather unappealing spare room with the mattress in the back and the first of my attempted revision videos. I'll do one for each of the three key elections that you need to learn in more detail, as well as the most recent election, which you should use for everything. So first of all, 1983. 1983 was a landslide win for the Conservatives with a majority of 144 with a turnout of 72.7%. Now, this victory was partly because of policy. So you've got a good, clear policy divide between the two main parties, right of centre versus left of centre. The Conservatives were further ending the post-war consensus that saw wide acceptance between the two parties of nationalisation, welfare state, Keynesian economics. Thatcher instead believed in free market economics and privatisation. So in this manifesto, she wanted to privatise British Telecom, British Gas. She wanted people to be able to buy their own council houses, and she planned to take on the unions, as we would see the next year in the miners' strike. Labour, on the other hand, had a manifesto so left wing that one of its own MPs nicknamed it the longest suicide note in history because it was perhaps too much for the electorate. So they wanted to build a department for economic planning in partnership with the unions. They wanted to abolish nuclear weapons and bring in higher taxation for the rich. Interesting note though, at this stage it was Labour, not Thatcher's Conservatives, who wanted to leave Europe. So it was still the EEC, the European Economic Community. Thatcher didn't mind that. It was the political integration of later that she opposed. Now, in terms of context, Thatcher should have been struggling. She had not managed to right the economy yet. Unemployment would actually peak in 1984. Inflation had peaked in 1980. But economically, she was struggling. However, everything seemed to have been swept away by the Falklands War, a war which she fought and won against Argentina, reclaiming the island to huge popularity and acclaim at home. So from this point, the Iron Lady was very much seen as a compliment, where at first it had been an insult from the left. The context for Labour was less happy, so the party had split. Due to its left-wing direction and the presence of left-wing factions, such as Militant Tendency, who had taken over local councils, the SDP, representing the centre of the party, the centrist element of the party, sorry, had broken away and formed a separate party, a social democratic party for this election. In terms of the leaders, obviously Thatcher was riding high. She was the darling of the more right wing media and pretty popular at home, whereas Michael Foot was the leader of Labour. He was seen as old, he was seen as not in good health. The first interviews he gave as leader, he was actually in a wheelchair after breaking his ankle. He'd been very criticised in 1981 for laying a wreath at the cenotaph on Remembrance Day wearing a donkey jacket, which was seen as a disrespectful thing. It was a worker's jacket. Now, one last thing about this election was that, as with later ones, first past the post saved the main party, in this case Labour, because actually they got 28% of the vote and the SDP got 25% of the vote. So they did very similarly, but Labour won 209 seats and the SDP won just 23. So that is the injustice of first past the post. But that's your first key election.